And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And you know, pets are awesome. I love pets. I love cats mostly, but I had dogs growing up, and they were so they were great. I had a dog when I was growing up that I swear this dog was like 90% fur and an 8-foot tongue. Okay, I have no idea what variant of mutt this dog was, but I loved this thing. She was she was such a great dog. See, we got her when I was like itty bitty. Okay, I can't remember before having Taffy, and what would have my dad? My dad was a cop, and I guess they had found this dog and her puppy in a garbage bag or something out on the interstate. So dad brought her home, brought both of them home, and went about trying to nurse them back to health with the intent of keeping the puppy and then giving up the mother, Taffy, for adoption. Well, the puppy died, so we kept Taffy. And I think I became the her new puppy because she was with me all the time. This was your classic a boy and his dog type thing, man. She would sleep in my bed with me and yeah, cuddle up, and it was warm and it was wonderful. And we'd go out and we'd throw balls or whatever around in the backyard and all that good stuff. And I love this dog, man. And as I've gotten older, I've realized, okay, I'm more of a cat person, which is fine, right? I'm not one of those people, oh, you must like dogs or you must like cats, and they're never the two shall meet. No, not at all. I just tend to prefer cats, right? And I was just thinking about what to talk about today, and as I'm sitting there, my cat jumps up on the couch, yells at me like I owe him something, and I sit down, pull his favorite blanket over my lap, and he is instantly on my lap. Now, I have to tell you, this cat, for the first 17 years of its life, hated people, right? This was not a cat that wanted to ever be picked up, never wanted pets, none of that stuff. We were, as far as he was concerned, I think, we were his jailers, and that was it. And now we're at a point where my cat is demanding lap time, and I love it. I love it. And pet ownership has a lot of actual benefits to people. Okay, seriously. Now, you can, depending on your pet. I mean, if you have a dog and you go walking the dog or going out play with it and stuff like that, okay, you get exercise. That's awesome. But who wants to exercise, right? No, I mean, seriously, there's all of that stuff, right? But more than that, being able to pick up and cuddle and care for a pet can help lower stress, which can lower blood pressure and you reduce heart disease, all of that good stuff, right? I saw some things online that says, hey, you also get a stronger immune system, especially for kids, which is awesome, I guess. I mean, honestly, it's awesome for kids to have a stronger immune system, right? The idea that we're raising kids in a bubble and no bacteria shall ever come within 6 feet of our kids ends up doing them a disservice, because then you start developing allergies potentially and other things. But your immune system has to fight something, and it just starts making stuff up when there's nothing for it to fight. It's like an actual army. But there's also some argument that it helps reduce allergies when kids are exposed to pets from an early age. As someone who has had pets from an early age and has allergies, okay, maybe I'll give it that. But I might argue that that's totally the case. I do have a slight allergy to cat fur and dog fur. I still have a cat. I'm willing to sacrifice that for the snuggles, man. It's all about the snuggles. And that leads into the next bit, right? I think one of the biggest benefits to having a pet is mental. They're the actual mental health benefits. Okay, because I will tell you, there were days, and there still are days. Where I'll come home from work and I'm stressed and I'm dealing with anxiety and just not doing great. And I would sit down on the couch, and I had another cat at the time who would just come, and he would come sit on my lap the first opportunity he got. And he would just sit there and purr, and that was such a stress reliever. Oh man, I could not tell you how much that helped just bring down the general anxiety levels of work that day. It was amazing. And I'm certainly there are other ways of reducing stress, but just it's almost like you talk about mindfulness meditation, where the idea is, okay, you're going to sit down and you're just going to focus on nothing. Clear your mind, let all of the thoughts go away, let all of the emotions drain away, just for the next 5 or 10 minutes. You're breathing, and that's it. Right? I mean, it helps a lot. I think I get the same benefits in many ways of sort of that enforced, I'm not going to say meditation, but that enforced stop, that enforced pause. Pun not intended, I suppose, which is weird because I usually intend most of my puns. But when I get a cat who would just sit on my lap and purr, I can't do anything. Now, technically, I could move the cat and I can go do stuff. But there is an unspoken agreement that when you have a pet on your lap, you're done. You are exempt from all tasks that must be done. Right? And I definitely felt that, and still do. Sometimes the cat will settle down on my lap and he'll just sit and purr while I pet him, and it's like, okay, things are better with the world. And I felt the same way with my dogs growing up too. Especially Taffy, when she'd come up and she'd sit on my lap. She would sit with me when I'd watch cartoons and stuff as a kid or watch movies, and she'd come up and sit in the chair because I was little and she was a small to medium sized dog, right? She wasn't big. Think like beagle size, roughly. It's hard to tell because she had so much freaking fur, man. But my stepmother shaved my dog one time, and I don't remember why. She took our dogs in for, I don't know, a vet checkup or something. I don't know what the deal was, but they shaved my dog, and she's always had so much fur. She was so cold, and I wrapped her up in my blanket, and she just held her close for a while as she shivered. I felt so bad for her, but still, having that companionship is awesome, right? For those people who live alone, right? Having a pet can help ease that loneliness, right? Plus, pets sort of enforce a structure, right? They sort of, they require feeding once in a while, water, you got to deal with all of that stuff. Cats, you got to clean the litter box. Dogs, hopefully you're, taking them for walks or at least playtime, something to get them some exercise. And that structure can be awesome. And seriously, my cat ensures that we are doing things on the schedule, right? Get up in the morning, he's there yelling at me, okay, dry food, human, dry food. He might eat 2 kibble and then walk off, but he's there to be sure I do my bit for the lord of the manor, right? And at lunch, we have to give him this, because he's old and he's starting to develop some digestive issues. Okay, so we have to give him a couple of things. We have to put Fortiflora on his food every couple of days to help with digestion, and we have to give him this goo, which is basically a laxative, but it helps with hairballs, which he never had an issue with, but as he's gotten older, he just isn't dealing with it as well. So the vet prescribed this thing. which it says right there, hairball relief, but it's also a laxative. But he loves this stuff, and I don't know why. I guess it's maple flavor. Cats like maple. I don't know, but so we give him a little bit of this goo, and he loves it, and he's there to be sure we give him goo every day at lunch because that's the thing we've got to do. So yeah, they help keep that structure and routine, which could honestly, having some structure can be immensely helpful for anybody, really. Those days when I had to take vacation and I'm just home, right? I don't have work. I forget what day it is, It's the only structure I have is, oh yeah, I'm streaming today, right? That's kind of about it, right? So all of that can help so much with our mental health. Plus, they give you that sort of that emotional support, right? We talk about the unconditional love of a dog or of a cat. Now, cats don't love anybody; they're just jerks. No, cats are awesome. I love cats. But yeah, that unconditional love is great, and yeah, I said the emotional support of, hey, you're stressed. I'm going to come over and be snuggle buddies and help relieve that stress. And there are a lot of pets that do that. Okay. I am almost positive my Sam cat, who said passed a couple of years ago at the ripe old age of 19. I seriously think he was one of those who could sense when I was stressed and would make it a point to come over and dive into kitty lap time because he felt that. So I'll tell you, and it's funny. My daughter's, not my youngest, but her older sister. She had to do volunteer service as part of school, right? Her university says, okay, you must do so many hours of volunteer work. So she went to volunteer at an animal shelter, and the job was to help socialize the animals that were there. And my youngest thought this was an amazing idea. So without any sort of requirements by the university, she's made it a point to go do the same thing and volunteer at a local animal shelter. And she loves it because it allows her, one, to be with all of these cute animals, and some of them she can pet, and some of them she can hold, and others she can't. But she talks about the stress relief from dealing with all of all of the cute animals, right? And it's great, right? I definitely recommend it if you can't have a pet at home for whatever reason. Just volunteering doesn't mean you get to do everything you want with all of the animals, of course, but it can give you some of that stress relief. Okay. Now, I do have to laugh too. The older of my two younger daughters, her roommate has an emotional support cat, and it spends a lot of time in my daughter's room. But she sent pictures like, nope, this cat just decided to climb up my daughter and lay itself around like a scarf. It's like, okay, it's like an emotional neck support cat, I guess. But yeah, they could definitely help with some of that stress and anxiety. Now, you could also talk about the social benefits of owning pets, right? If you're one of those people who maybe has a hard time dealing with or meeting people, perhaps, dogs and dog parks are fun because you meet a lot of people who have dogs, right? Hey, you at least have one thing in common. You have dogs. And, maybe you can meet people there, maybe not, but you're going to meet more people than not going someplace, right? And I see comics like this all the time. It's like I don't know their name, but I know all of their pets' names. Right? It's because we've talked and I know. So yeah, it's a pets can be one of those wonderful icebreakers in a lot of ways to open up. It's like, hey, your dog is so cute. Your cats are adorable. And just you can get started on those conversations. That can be awesome, right? I'm also a big believer in pet ownership helping teach responsibilities to children. Okay, because children need to learn responsibility, right? At some point, they need to be able to be responsible for something, right? Because as they become adults, they're going to be responsible for everything, right? So being able to have a kid that's said, all right, your job is to put out food for the cat. Okay. So every morning or every night or twice, however you decide to do it, it's okay. You're going to measure out this much and put it in the bowl. And that's your job. And make sure that they have water in their bowl. Right. And you can stress that the cat's not going to be able to do this for themselves, right? I suppose they could if you just leave the bag open, but we're gonna try to keep this reasonable. We felt so bad. I had two cats, right? And we had the older one, which he had his special food that he had to eat. And he couldn't eat the regular food, right? It's just as he got older, he had, well, actually it wasn't even that. He had urinary tract issues. So we had to give him some food to help with that. For about half his life, he had to deal with that. So we left his food out. And then as he got older and it was just harder for him to get around and get up to eat, we had to leave his food out and be sure that he always had food. Well, my young cat over here, who's only 2 years younger, boy, he ate everything. So, yeah, would have been a time as we were raising kids, like, okay, no, we're gonna put out just a little bit for Dusty and this for Sam, and it was, trying to teach some responsibility and put the cat on a diet at the same time. Would it have worked? Well. Who knows? Now, I'm not going to say that having cats is all sunshine or having pets at all. I said I focus on cats because I have cats. But I said I had dogs and loved them. So, but it's not always sunshine and roses, okay? My wife and I have talked about, because our cat's 17. While he's in pretty good shape, he's got a little bit of a heart murmur and stuff, but he still gets around great, and he's old, right? His time is short, whether we like it or not. And we've talked about, do we want to get another cat? And there are some issues, right? I mean, aside from the fact that pets in general can be expensive, right? Cat food, pet food and stuff isn't necessarily cheap. Vet visits definitely aren't cheap. And depending on anything else you might need, okay, getting started with a pet can be expensive. Now, okay, we already have cats, so we already have the cat box, we already have all the food dishes, right, all of that stuff. My cat has 3 food dishes and a water bowl right now. And one is for the dry food, right? I give him about a quarter cup in the morning and a quarter cup at night. And sometimes he eats all of it, sometimes he doesn't, but I try to keep it there. And we've got one bowl that's for wet food, right? Because I don't want to mix that and it's all that. And then we've got this one little bowl for his goo, right? That laxative, digestive, maple scented goo. Yeah, we have a separate bowl for that. Just so we can put it down, he can lick it, and it's all good. Okay. but all of that stuff, you start getting all that. You get a leash and a walking harness for your dog or your cat. Maybe your cat likes to go for walks too, right? Or if you're going with fish or a snake route or something, I've heard pythons are very cuddly. Do not cuddle the huggy noodle. Yeah. No, but there can be a lot of cost that goes into all of the accoutrements for having a pet. Okay. And, that if your finances aren't there, that's a thing to consider. Plus, maybe where you live doesn't allow pets, right? Because, if you're living in an apartment, you're renting a house or something like that doesn't allow you to have pets. Okay, that can be an issue. And, your emotional support emu doesn't count. I'm sorry to say. Yes, those words have actually been spoken previous to me, so I apologize that is even a thing. But there is all of that. Plus, pets take time, right? I mean, cats are great because they're pretty chill being left alone, right? Dogs less so. So there's definitely time involved. Now with a dog, if you're good, you're taking out for walks and all of that stuff. Hey, that's awesome. It does take time, but you're getting that exercise in that we talked about before. But if you're working multiple jobs and taking care of kids, or just one job and taking care of kids, there's time involved there. One of the issues we've got is my cat has hairball issues and some digestive issues. And so every day or two, we're having to clean up after him because he throws up or hawks up a hairball or some other bit of loveliness. And not entirely sure I want to keep doing that, right? The litter box, we've already decided, if we were to get another cat, we are getting a robo litter box, okay? They're expensive, but cleaning up litter boxes, and my cat is so freaking particular. We have to have two. We have to have two litter boxes out because he'll pee in one and poop in the other. With just one, he won't mix and match, okay? He's not that type of guy. He must keep his business separate, okay? Cats are weird like that. Or at least my cat is weird like that. Okay? And so there's dealing with some of that. It's like, you know what? I don't know that I want to keep dealing with stuff like this, right? I definitely don't want to keep having to clean up cat puke from the carpet, okay? That's not my favorite thing in the world to be doing. Okay, so fortunately I inherited about 87 trillion paper towels, so I've got that going for me. Some people inherit money. I inherited Legos and paper towels. It's just no, but it's definitely a concern, right? And I know towards the end of his life, my dad was dealing with some financial issues, right? His nest egg had hit and retirement fund had gotten completely blown away by the stock market crash of 2008. He had a reasonable pension, but it wasn't lavish by any means. And yeah, he had dogs that would, that had medical issues, and he had, vet visits and all that stuff. And yeah, that is definitely a concern. It's definitely something that you need to be aware of, that pets can be expensive to deal with. Okay. So, it's a thing. And, acquiring a pet isn't free typically, but on the other hand, when you adopt, it's not that expensive at all. And honestly, pet adoption is awesome. Now, there are some people said, my dad, he adopted a lot of his dogs. The later dogs he got in life, he bought because he wanted labs. And so he would find a breeder. He actually wanted dachshunds, but couldn't find dachshunds in Colorado. So he went with labs because obviously they're the same size. It's like, Dad, your house isn't that big and you're not out walking them. You need small animals. And no, he got labs, which is a concern. If you're living in a small space, don't get a big dog. Okay? Big dogs are awesome. But, dude, they don't do well in small spaces. Okay? You gotta. It's not like Dad was out walking these guys every day or anything like that. It's small, man. It's small. But you've got to definitely make those choices and those considerations. Now, I am not one of those people who is avidly against, pet shops and buying dogs or cats from breeders. Okay, but the reality is there's little need, and because there are a lot of pets up for adoption, and there are some medical realities. Purebreds of various flavors tend to have more medical issues. Okay, it's just people bred these dogs for specific reasons, and that led to some issues. Like my grandparents used to breed Greater Swiss Mountain Dogs. Now these dogs are big. These are big flippin' dogs, and these were dogs that were bred to pull carts through the Alps. Okay, these are big, strong, peaceful, loving, right? Wonderful. And we had one, which was great. But the dude thought he was a lap dog. This was the biggest flippin' lap dog, Okay, he wasn't like Great Dane size, but still talking big dog, wanted to come sit on laps. This is not how this works. I was little. I could ride this dog. Okay, that's not. But he had hip problems, which is common in some of those larger breeds. Pugs can't breathe. I have no idea how these dogs actually get oxygen. Right? They are a biological organism designed to turn oxygen into farts. Okay, and they are very good at it. Except for them getting oxygen into their wee little bodies, okay? So there are some issues there. I would go for a mixed breed any day, okay? I think you can end up with some of the best of everything with your various flavor of mutt, whether dog or cat or whatever, right? And, but it is something to consider. I would definitely encourage, hit your local animal shelter first. Look for places that do adoption, and find the pet that's right for you. Okay, because in all honesty, one, not everybody is suited for pets, and that's cool. Okay, but pets really are amazing. And I'm a big believer in the mental health benefits, especially of having a pet, right? I said, I'm a cat person. I'm not out walking my cat. But, I do, when my cats were younger and would still play with things, right? Like, okay, got a little bit of exercise, flipping the little feathery dealy bob or, laser pointer for the cat to chase around. My older cat was smart. Once he realized he couldn't catch the dot, he stopped trying. So, okay, so that lasted about 2 days. But seriously, I am all about the emotional support that you get from loving and being loved by a pet. So whether it's a dog or a cat, I do get it from other things. I have zero experience with birds. I don't particularly like birds, so, and I find it very hard to want to snuggle with like a gecko or a snake. But hey, if you're into that sort of thing, more power to you. Find a pet that works for you. Okay? But yeah, dogs and cats are great. And despite all of the nonsense you hear otherwise, dogs and cats can live together and they can be great with each other. But, you know, just have to, everyone just gets acclimated right. Then it's fine. You don't necessarily have to choose. I had the house I grew up in, we were mostly dogs and I had a cat. You know, it was just, it was a little bit of both and it was great. So, yeah. And you know, if you've got a pet, I would love to see pictures of your pet. You know, drop it by in the Discord. Slap a picture of your pet in there. I would love to see your pets because, you know, they're just so flippin' cute. And if you have a pet, take a moment, give them whatever love your pet is capable of dealing with. Okay, as I said, my cat didn't like to be picked up and snuggled for the longest time. That's great. But, you know, whatever, you know, and until next time, be excellent to each other. And be excellent to your pets. And this is Music Free Static, signing off.